Hello and welcome to Wargaming, and in this video unboxing we will be looking at the sci-fi World War II game Dust and the starter sets which come with that. We'll be looking at this SSU Battlebook Koshka, Allied Task Force Joe, and finally the Access Camp Group Stefan. So as it's here, let's take a look at the contents of this. We have the, obviously this is the Axis forces, the German forces. On the back you can see that we get the Ludwig, the Recon Grenadiers and Stefan, and also the Heavy Laser Grenadiers. In addition we have the miniatures I mentioned, a rulebook, unit cards, a game board, terrain tiles, tank trap and 12 dice as well. So basically everything in here is what you'll need to kind of get started with the game. So let's open up the box and take a look inside. So this is the content. So first of all we have these cards in here, which are the unit cards which detail all the stat lines for the miniatures included, and also these kind of terrain tiles which will be used with the game board. So let's put those to one side for a second. We get the 44-page rulebook, and it's quite a considerable amount of information there, and this basically contains all of the information that you'll need to get started with playing the game Dust Tactics. Now there is a alternate rule set available in the full rulebook, which is kind of a game which is played out more like Warhammer 40k, but this Dust Tactics takes place on a game board which we'll be taking a look at next. So here's the game board. It's kind of like a fold out paper, and it comes with like a series of these like grid squares, and it's kind of the way the game works is miniatures move from these sections and squads, and you attack the squads and use all this kind of grid section to work out range and things like that, rather than using a ruler. In here we have like things like buildings. This is double-sided as well, so we have this side of the buildings and there's like a different arrangement on the other side as well. So let's take a look at the models that come with the box. So one of the first things you may notice about these miniatures is they're actually pre-assembled. Usually with miniatures they come on sprues, or they at least come with some sort of assembly required, but these guys are all assembled, they're all based, and just take them like this. So we have the troopers here. I'll zoom in a sec so you can get a better look at the actual quality, but all of these come on their bases and they're all assembled. There is like kind of a small amount of movement in them. You can adjust the head slightly, but yeah, we have the infantry there, and also remove this piece of the box, and also the vehicle, which is the Ludwig, and like this is kind of pre-assembled as well. There's a small amount of articulation as well, which you can attach these weapons to and you move them around. What's also interesting about these is they're actually pre-primed as well, so you can actually get straight ahead and start painting these. You don't need to assemble them, you don't need to paint them, which for some people is actually kind of a bit of a chore really when it comes to miniatures. They just want to get playing the games, and if you are looking for something that you can just break out the box and get playing straight away, then this is an excellent series. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at the miniatures. So now that I've zoomed in, let's take a look at these Heavy Laser Grenadiers. They're armoured Germans with massive laser guns. I really like the style. It's kind of very much kind of practical use over aesthetics. So there's a kind of like, it's a sci-fi approach to a kind of alternate timeline. So let's take a look at the next squad. So next up are the Recon Grenadiers, which are less heavily armoured than their comrades, and these guys are kind of armed with the kind of iconic German helmet, and also with the Panzerfaust you may recognise as a actual World War II weapon. The weapons are kind of styled, the firearms are kind of styled on what appears to be a souped up MP44, so it's very much kind of in keeping with the World War II theme, but it's kind of advanced a few years. So next we have the hero of the set, which is Stefan. He's armed with a very formidable looking flamethrower, similar kind of armour to the Recon Grenadiers. Now, one thing which I'd like to highlight is the kind of the very kind of flexible plastic which is in use here. It's kind of be a little bit annoying because I've got this kind of weird bend in the flamethrower, so I'll have to kind of make sure I try and straighten that out without snapping it. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage from the plastic used here. So I've had to zoom out slightly so that I can fit the vehicle in shot, which is the Ludwig for the German forces. As I mentioned before, it's kind of fully posable. It's all kind of just comes in parts, and the weapons come off as well. What I like about the detailing is all these like little rivets and things that you get on the back, and it's very nice in its kind of aesthetics. if, like me, you're kind of very particular when it comes to prepping your models, you may want to kind of address a few of these things, which is kind of where the sprue hasn't been properly removed from the weapon there, and then there's also kind of some mould lines running along the seams on the legs here as well. So although it has been kind of assembled and pre-painted, you may want to do a little bit of work if you want to get a kind of a good finish to it in the end. But really, you can't fault it. It's the priming hasn't obscured too much of the detail. There are places where it's probably a little bit thicker than normal, but apart from that, it's not too bad. Okay, so let's move on to the second starter set, which is the Soviet one, the SSU Battle Group Koshka, and in here we get Grandma, we get Red Thunder, the Callee, Koshka, and also the Rulebook, the unit cards, the terrain tiles, and the dice. All the similar things that we saw in the previous kit. But one thing you may have noticed at this point is that the kind of general makeup of these sets is a walker accompanied by a couple of squads of infantry and also a character as well. So there's a good kind of starter set if you want to build your army further on from here. So let's open up the box and take a look inside. As before, we have the cards and the terrain tiles in there, the double-sided game board, which I think is identical to the previous one, and also the dust rulebooks, which is the same kind of thing as before, just the rulebook, which means that if you are buying two of these, then you will have a duplicate rulebook, but if you and a friend get hold of one, then you both have your own copies as well. So here are the miniatures, upside down. Spin it round, and you can see the infantry at the top and also the vehicle walker. Same kind of setup, pre-assembled miniatures, pre-primed, ready to just break out the box and get playing. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at these as well. So now we have the Soviet infantry. First of all, we have Red Thunder, which is kind of a anti-tank, anti-vehicle unit, armed with we've got kind of like 2 missile launchers there, and also kind of just 3 standard infantry as well. What I really like about these guys is the kind of if you look at the kind of padded jackets and you're familiar with kind of some pictures and the uniforms from the time, it's very much kind of World War II Soviet in style. It's these little details which really bring the background to life. I really like kind of aesthetics as well. This kind of heavy armour that's added to over the top of the normal weapons, and also kind of the more advanced weaponry that they've got, kind of signify this as being a sci-fi game as well. So if you look at the kind of the bazookas, they're very much kind of a futuristic rather than historical weapons. So let's take a look at the next squad. So the next squad is the Callee, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it correctly. It's just my guess, so don't quote me on that. These are kind of the close combat specialists. They're armed with shotguns, and we've got a guy with I think it's a flamethrower, and this guy's throwing a flaming Molotov cocktail. They are kind of similar to the previous guys, but kind of different enough to identify them as being a different unit. Most notably is this kind of slightly advanced armour with the very important groin protection there. It's the kind of nicely detailed, and as I mentioned slightly earlier, you can rotate the heads of these miniatures slightly, and then some of the later ones you can actually adjust the bodies as well. So let's take a look at the special character. So here we have Koshka, who is the special character for this set, and she is carrying this what appears to be rather feeble-looking pistol compared to some of the weapons we've seen previously. However, I imagine she's probably much more formidable than she looks in the game. Now let's move on to the heavy walker for this set. So this brings us to Grandma, which is the Soviet walker. Now you can definitely see kind of the difference in style between these and the German Ludwig that we looked at before. This is kind of more of a armoured battle suit, where the previous one was kind of more of a tank on legs. As before, these arms are kind of fully articulated, a little bit stiffer because of the priming, but you can move them. You can kind of change the position that you want them in slightly. Apart from that, there's very little in terms of give for this miniature compared to the Ludwig, where you can kind of pose it around the waist. I really like the style of this. It's very kind of, if you would imagine the Soviets at the time, everything's very, very simple to build, cheap to build, quick to manufacture, much like a T-34 tank. So definitely liking the style here. I'd say probably in terms of mould lines and things, this miniature isn't too bad. The Ludwig was a little bit worse than this, but this one is definitely an improvement over the previous miniature. So this brings us to the final start set, which is the Allied Task Force Joe. This is the kind of the US and British forces combined. Same setup as before. We get a vehicle walker and then 2 infantry squads, the rulebook and the dice. You know the deal by now. So let's take a look inside and take a look at the miniatures. So it's the same setup as the previous sets, but I've actually opened up the card packet so we can take a look at some of the cards that we get in here. They're kind of like the stat lines for the miniatures and also kind of special rules, and these are just in replacement for like what you'd expect for from like a codex or a standalone one of the army rule books that you'd see in a game such as Bolt Action. So these are kind of just quite handy, and also what I should point out is these are actually laminated so that you can use like a dry white marker to tick off these when ammunition's used, or find the vehicle card. Damage points are knocked off as well, so that's quite a nice handy feature. The terrain tiles also double up as kind of objectives as well. You can represent impassable terrain such as the buildings, or just kind of cover such as these ammo crates and this tree here. So there's the rulebook, same as before, there's the game mat, same as before, and also the miniatures as well. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at these. So here we have the Allied Infantry. The first squad is the bot hunters, which are kind of, due to the heavy kind of bazookas, they're definitely going to be taking out the vehicles. What I like about this squad is the kind of greatcoats that they're actually wearing, which if you look at the painted examples on the box, they're kind of painted up to be a kind of a winter theme. So these kind of greatcoats fit very well. One of the problems that I've noticed with these guys is because their kind of waists are posable, and you can kind of with a bit of force remove them. There you go. You can kind of like a slight ball joint there. One of the problems is they don't quite fit properly. Some of them aren't too bad if you get them in the right position, but some of them you kind of have quite a noticeable gap between them. It just looks a bit strange. So I suppose that's one of the disadvantages of these pre-assembled miniatures. What I would personally be doing is kind of removing these completely and just kind of sanding down the contacts and just gluing them straight down. But if you just want something to play with, rather than going to the whole hog of painting the modelling, then these guys will do. So next up we have the aptly named Grim Reapers, and these are probably my favourite miniatures for the whole of the Dust Star set. They're heavily armoured in these kind of power battle suits. They're also equipped with these jetpacks which allow them to cross the battlefield very quickly. The detailing is also quite nice on these, especially in the ammo belts. If you see there, you can see all of the individual cartridges have been picked out as well. So let's take a look at the special character for this starter set. So here we have Bazooka Joe, which is the special character for the US forces. I have to say he's probably one of the nicer, probably the best detailed miniatures of the whole starter set that I've seen so far. He's armed with this kind of grenade launcher there, and the kind of equipment that he's got is very much similar to kind of like a standard US infantryman of World War II. So yeah, this is definitely my favourite due to probably both the mixture of the aesthetics and the quality of the sculpt on this. So for the final miniature of this unboxing, we have the Allied Pounder, which if you are kind of aware of any World War II vehicles, you probably see that this is very much a Sherman tank on legs, down to the kind of the chassis and the cupola as well. As before, the detailing is quite nice. This turret falls off. There's a very slight amount of articulation. You can kind of move this up, which makes it easier to paint things like that, but you could just glue them down and just ignore them. One thing I haven't mentioned so far is that some of these miniatures also have these kind of transfers already on them, which means that obviously if you want to paint it yourself, you're going to have to remove these, but if you just kind of want to add a little bit extra detail, you can just keep these on. The set doesn't actually come with any other transfers, so if you do paint over these, then you will have to kind of paint these on freehand, or you could just get the transfers from kind of like any other World War II kind of 1/35 scale set. So that was my video unboxing of the Dust Star sets, and I have the 3 walkers from each of the sets here in front of me. I really like the aesthetics of Dust. It's kind of got that whole sci-fi World War II genre going on, which kind of looks excellent, and the miniatures are well detailed. They might not hold up as well against companies such as Games Workshop, but they are of a good quality. Personally, I think the whole pre-assembled thing that Dust has going on is kind of a bit of a double-edged sword. It's good because you can get the miniatures out of the box, get playing straight away. You don't have to worry about kind kind of clipping them off sprues and assembling them and getting them painted and getting them ready. Everything's all done for you. But if you are like me, you enjoy that kind of aspect of the hobby, being able to build your own miniatures with the kind of, especially when you kind of get a choice of the components and you can customize it to how you want it, you kind of do lose that with Dust. But there are plenty of people out there who are not as keen on the hobby side of kind of wargaming and will really appreciate this kind of much easier approach towards it. So to summarise, if you are interested in getting into Dust, then I would highly recommend picking up at least 2 of these starter sets. You just got to choose which one you prefer. You or a friend could get one each, and you can pretty much get gaming straight away. The miniatures that you get in there is perfectly enough to get started with your own force. Once I've had a chance to play a few games of Dust, I will be posting a review of my experiences on our website, talkwargaming.com. There'll be a link to the website in the description. You can find all sorts of news articles, tutorials, and more product reviews on there. Be sure to subscribe to us as well to be kept up to date with our latest video unboxings and also tutorials. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.